Hello everyone, this is Cameron McCurdy. I'm an account executive with CB Insights. Today we're going to walk through both the features in the CB Insights platform and how our current clients are using us. CB Insights came about in 2010 because our co-founders worked in corporate innovation and strategy over at American Express. And at the time they found that there really weren't any great tools available to add transparency to the private company space in any sort of meaningful way that was also predictive. So really, CB Insights came from the pain they felt in that position. These days, we work with both deal makers and trend watchers, deal makers being your VCs, private equity players, your corporate development or M&A teams, as well as your corporate venture capital groups. Trend watchers will be your strategy, your innovation players, your competitive intelligence, and then of course service providers like your consultants, your bankers, even your economic development units. On the left-hand side here, you can see this menu. You can access any feature in CB Insights from any singular point, so it's pretty easy to navigate there. We'll walk through what each of these is in a meaningful manner to each one of our use cases. Now, when you work with CB Insights, you'll have a customer success advisor who is there for ongoing training and support. This video is less training, more so just an introduction. But where our clients are getting value from CB Insights day one is usually something they're already familiar with, which is our research. Right here, I can actually go to our research portal. This is a way that CB Insights is proactively putting in front of our clients new technologies, overall trends shaping entire industries, key players across the world, as we are a sector, stage, and geography agnostic organization. Now you'll notice with some of these reports I'm showcasing here, they're marked expert intelligence. Expert intelligence is client-only research that's much more predictive than maybe what you've already seen in the newsletter. Or if we're talking about specific market maps, we'll go in much deeper or have a much broader market map and talk about subsectors that we really only want to put in front of clients. So if you have a conversation with someone at CB Insights, ask them a little bit more about expert intelligence. We release about anywhere from 50 to 80 expert intelligence briefs every single month across a wide array of industries. And really at the end of the day, this is so our clients can have an unfair advantage as opposed to those that don't have expert intelligence. Now let's say I already have something I want to look up in CB Insights as opposed to just having them put a wide array of topics in front of me. Maybe I'm a VC working on diligence on an overall deal or working on a presentation for our LPs. Maybe I'm a corporate strategy team that needs to understand the impact of, say, a specific technology it's going to have on our sector or overall. Or maybe I'm a corporate innovation team that wants to understand where the industry is headed based upon early companies that are showcasing these new interesting technologies. All of our clients can actually easily jump up to this top search bar here. Let's say I want to understand artificial intelligence. Right away what that's going to do is that's actually going to link me back to CB Insights Intelligence. You'll see here we're once again doing market maps. We're talking about forward-looking trends. We're talking about very specific regions, and we'll usually highlight those of interest to our clients or hotbeds of overall activity. We can also talk about the applications of these technologies, like artificial intelligence, maybe to overall specific industries or other subsectors like retail, things like that. You'll see it across a wide array. And we'll also go into things like IP, investment activity. Corporate strategy players are using this kind of information to understand, startups as a whole. Are they competing with individual lines of business? Are they presenting threats that could put the company in danger, or the future of the company in danger, I should say? Corporate innovation teams are helping their organizations understand how these technologies are going to shape the next 5 to 10 years of their overall industry. All of this ultimately so that you can take CB Insights data and just make more informed decisions, typically in your buy, build, or partner scenarios. Now, besides being able to access CB Insights Intelligence, once again, you'll see this Expert Intelligence logo here as well. Our clients are also easily able to quickly move into specific players. So the companies that are making up these trends, they can actually go to their full company profile or view this card and understand very quickly things like total funding, giving them an idea of overall runway, understanding recency of funding and overall funding history. Now, a lot of our clients are looking at the qualitative standpoint, who their investors are. So from a VC, private equity, even CVC standpoint, maybe corporate M&A teams, we're looking at who's going to be across the table. We're also looking at, are there any strategic investors here versus sort of your classic venture players that are looking for strictly sort of financial returns. Our corporate strategy teams and our innovation teams are looking at the nature of strategic investments to understand, did Citrix invest in Kindi in order to be able to shape their product more so, or bring them into their ecosystem? In which case, if that's the case, are they the best partner to go with, or do we have to look elsewhere for what they do? Now, you'll also notice here Mosaic score. This is a proprietary rating algorithm that the National Science Foundation awarded CB Insights a grant to create. We'll actually go more into that in a second, but essentially it makes our clients able to do diligence on an overall market space, rank players relative to each other really easily. We can also go into investors, whether it's governments, whether it's academia, government academic grants, smart money venture players and where they're investing. A lot of our clients, or most of our clients, are interested in where these players are investing. We can also go into the nature of CVC, understanding Intel Capital, of course, hardware players wanting to drive the future of AI, understanding where their GPUs are being used in this overall ecosystem. And once again, we're looking globally too. So we can see the likes of Chinese investors investing into US firms. And we can do so for a lot of different reasons. Of course, we can also do things like go into patent activity. We will quantify the overall trends. So understand things like over a certain time frame, maybe if we want to look quarterly, what is the overall number of patents we're seeing each quarter versus the actual number of players, so those filing for certain patents. Are we seeing overall trends take off or certain technologies being adopted? If we look into these patents, so if we look into who's actually filing for these patents, is it legal defense versus those that you can think are actually going to act upon these patents? A lot of our clients are using this to understand where FAMGA, where the IBMs, where the Amazons of the world are moving into next, so that they can understand that portfolio company they just invested in. Are they suddenly being threatened by some of these large giants that have a lot of capital to move around, or they can understand the build strategy of some of their competitors, or they can understand some of the assets that these startups have as well that they could take advantage of and partner with. So our innovation teams are interested in looking at patents for the sake of understanding who has interesting technology out there. Earnings transcripts is something fairly new we've incorporated into the platform. Once again, if we aim it at a specific technology, we can see the mentions take off here. So it's on the radar more and more of these kinds of companies. Once again, we're looking at things like hardware players mentioning artificial intelligence. NVIDIA stock shooting up because their GPUs are pretty much number one choice right now. We can see interesting, cloud players being able to use AI to analyze massive amounts of data that they hold. Besides looking at the overall market and who's mentioning certain terms right now, artificial intelligence on earnings calls, we can also aim this at very specific players. Maybe it's your competitors. Maybe it is once again, the large tech players that are making moves that can affect entire markets. Click OK here. We can actually see when there are mentions of artificial intelligence on Microsoft earnings calls. Take that into account for our decisions, and then also go into the specific excerpt that we're talking about here. So see when they mentioned in what context they're talking about AI, IoT. And I chose Microsoft, very purposefully because all the mentions they have these days, or all the focus they have overall on enterprise. And then lastly, we can also go into news. We'll quantify it here to give you an idea of overall trends, or buzz really. The rest of the platform can understand what's noise and what's not. As we saw in the other tabs, we'll pull out top companies here or investors related to this particular search. We'll also be able to get sort of more of the narrative around a particular topic. Once again, we're talking about AI here, but we can look at the narrative around our competitors, around potential partners, around potential investments or acquisitions, or once again, the application of these technologies may be to specific spaces. Last thing that's important to note is CB Insights is also very good at finding market activity that's normally very opaque. Things like partnerships. So we can find key partnerships in the market as that's becoming more and more of a means of innovating. And then we'll pull out who's mentioned in these particular partnerships so we can look at their overall buy, build, or partner strategy in the marketplace. Once again, this all goes back to creating that transparency that our co-founders wish they had when they were at American Express. So So far, we've been able to proactively have research put in front of us via the research portal that our intelligence unit creates. Our clients have an unfair advantage with expert intelligence. We can also reactively enter in very specific queries that we want to learn more about in terms of all the key players, technologies, strategies of some of the larger public companies, and overall narrative and sentiment around them. Next, our clients told us in the past that they really love the data. They wanted to be able to collaborate on top of the data, not just between themselves, but also with our analysts. So we built what we call a CRM for innovation, and that's what these collections are. And we'll explore that right now. For our deal makers, so VC players, for our M&A teams, collections is also a CRM, or kind of a monitoring of their overall pipeline for specific deals. So a lot of the time when they come on board with CB Insights, and maybe their old system of record was an Excel they had, like a master Excel we hear so much, or even just email conversations, things like that. You can actually upload that Excel when you start a collection here into CB Insights, and suddenly you'll have a live and dynamic feed because it's being fed with CB Insights data that you can then also, once again, export out of Excel and use it, with other applications. Really, the point is, though, since it's live and dynamic in CB Insights, you can keep it in here. Now, if you don't have a collection of your own, if you don't have a running list of specific companies you're interested in, you can also work off of different themes that our analysts have uploaded into CB Insights, and that's what these expert collections are. As you can see here, they'll look at different industries like agriculture. They'll look at different technologies like artificial intelligence, or with AI and fintech, the application of technology to these industries. Really quite a wide array of overall themes. If we want to stick with artificial intelligence, what our clients will then do is all these red numbers are sort of updates in these collections, is they can actually take this collection that's currently public and clone it. That's a save as, so it's making it private just for their team. I already have one prepared here in this artificial intelligence tab. So first and foremost, when this collection appears, you'll notice the kind of menu of options at the top here. We have the overall feed. So first tool here is incredibly powerful. It's the Market Map Maker. Now, a lot of you have probably seen CB Insights market maps. What we do is our analysts comb through and understand the sort of high momentum players around all the different subsectors, maybe of a technology or a theme or an industry, and they place that in a market map that people seem to enjoy, and a lot of our clients actually have us tailor for their presentations. A lot of the time we were hearing feedback, hey, we want to actually be able to dynamically work with these market maps. Like, can I click in and go to that particular company? Now you can. From there, the feedback was also, hey, can I customize these for myself? The Market Map Maker is a visual way of explaining these themes to others in your organization, whether it's presenting to the board, whether it's presenting to LPs, whether it's simply a matter of just kind of keeping everyone on the same page. I'm deleting these specific sections so that you can see how easy it is to then customize and build your own sections here. Maybe I want to build out the healthcare tab. I'm going to sort by that Mosaic score I was talking about before, that is overall health and momentum. So I'm going to drag this over here, easily resize it, start to bring in some of the top Mosaic scored companies. And as you can see, it's really easy to be able to build out our own market maps view, export out of here. We'll also see within the companies feed of a collection, when we click in, originally it's sorted alphabetically. We can actually sort by specific tags that our analysts have placed into these collections. And this is a means of discovery. If you're learning about a new theme, technology industry, you can look at the various subsectors or themes we've identified. Maybe I want to go into cybersecurity. You can then, once again, using that Mosaic score, rank and sort these players. This is an incredible time saver. So Mosaic came about, as I said before, because the National Science Foundation awarded us a grant because there was no feasible means for large corporations, startup, really anybody, to easily assess the overall health and momentum of private companies with verifiable data. So Mosaic has actually 3 subcategories that make this overall score. Momentum is essentially their traction. We're looking at things like industry sentiment. We're looking at things like social media presence. We're looking at things like their partnerships, new product announcements, key executive hirings, expansion into new geographies. Market is the market they participate in. Things like deal flow. Is there healthy deal flow? Number of deals, number of dollars. exit activity. Are companies dying, or are they IPOing or becoming acquired? Who is investing into that market? It means a whole lot more if Sequoia Capital is investing in that market than it does if I, Cameron McCurdy, am investing there. Money is that particular company. What's the recency of funding, total funding? Once again, things like who are the key investors, or what does a quality investor look like into that company? All of those are a way to come up with the overall score that's out of 1,000. And as you can see here, we looked into cybersecurity-based AI companies. We're able to easily sort and rank them so that for our clients, when they want to understand who are the top players that they should focus on when there's 10,000 companies to look at, or where they should start with their time, they can actually easily look at, say, the top 10 percentile scored companies. It does a lot of the heavy lifting for them in terms of diligence. And then in terms of discovery, because we watch this number either trend upwards or trend downwards, month to month, and it can help us sort of predict the trajectory of these companies as well. Now, I mentioned that collections is also all about collaboration. You can collaborate with our analysts via this Ask an Analyst tool, or even on the companies themselves. So let's say you went to a conference and you met Sift Science. If you're a venture firm and you want to understand more about them and you're performing diligence on them, you can bring CB Insights analysts in here and you could say, all right, I see these 3 competitors here, but maybe tell me more. Maybe tell me more about competitors, and maybe you want to understand from specific geographies. Within 24 hours, our analyst will get back to you and either add companies to this collection for you or present a list to you and you can add them. So it's like adding to your overall intelligence team. You can also tag the people on your end that you invite into the collection via this tab right here that can control the narrative. And now you have a running dialogue with CB Insights analysts and yourselves. This is especially important if you bring new people on and they need to catch up on your kind of story on top of the data quite quickly. Saves up ramp-up time. Or if somebody leaves the team, you're not hurt by brain drain. The only person that knew the answer to a particular question leaving the team or leaving the overall company, because it's all stored in this single source of the truth here in this collection. So beyond being able to analyze and work with different spaces, and by the way, you can customize these tags yourselves, beyond being able to rank different companies, making diligence all that much easier, or collaborate with our analysts to understand the lay of the land, make your own market maps, analyze news or overall documents and conferences. Collections are also a means of performing an analysis on top of the actual data itself. So if I want to analyze all the data or the companies that make up that collection, I can click on this, what's called reports. Reports is a means of getting rid of the data janitorial work and having to do all these number crunching yourself, and simply using CB Insights to present this information. I can look at things like overall funding activity. The blue bar graph is the number of deals, the number of dollars. The orange line is the number of deals. I can it's very live and dynamic, and I can change the nature of what we're looking at here. We can look into things like deal share by stage. And this kind of data is important to every one of our use cases. Corporate innovation or strategy people might say, we're not investors, why do we need to know this? If you're corporate innovation, you understand that in 2018, 43% of the deals have been seed and angel. That's almost half the market as essentially new companies. This can tell us that there's a lot of noise out there. Maybe we need to start paying more attention to companies that are maybe commercialized a little bit more, so they're at a Series A. This can also tell us where the overall tech or industry is at in terms of maturity overall, because far more than half of the companies are at a seed or Series A round. It can help us change our lens or change the microscope on where we want to look and understand the future impact. If half these companies are fairly new to the market today, perhaps their impact isn't truly going to be felt until maybe a few years from now, given time in the venture world, even though the rate of change is increasing every single day. We can also look at things like deals by geography, and you can make custom collections where maybe you're just looking at China or Europe or the UK or Israel. We can look at average median deal size. So if you're thinking about forming a venture unit, if you're a corporation, which happens a lot, they'll come to us and say, we're looking to form this separate venture unit and we want to use CB Insights. You can start to understand the cost to play in a lot of these spaces. Of course, right now we can look at things like funding distribution in the United States. Even if your focus is elsewhere, you can still understand things like what's still coming out of Silicon Valley and what's that impact going to be on the world. So Collections also let us crunch those numbers so we can spend more time actually working on our strategy and decisions than doing that data janitorial work I was talking about before. That's collections here. Last thing I want to show you is this advanced search. This is the more sort of database side of things, where if we want to have very specific filters and criteria and then automate that, kind of have that sent to us as a newsletter or kind of overall feed, we can do that here. Another way to access that is actually through collections in charts and search. This will bring us once again to a visualization of this data. Some of these you'll see in reports as well. I can look at things like, once again, average median deal size, breakdown by stage, top investors by number of deals in the last year versus 2 years versus 5 years. For venture players, private equity players, this can tell you about syndicates that are out there. For your corporate teams, whether your corporate strategy, you can look certainly at competitors and what they're doing. You can also understand who's investing in the startups that are competing with individual lines of business, or who is investing in the startups that present opportunities to our organization. For corporate innovation players, this is looking at the central hubs. If Sequoia Capital in the last year is connected to 10 of these companies or participating in 10 deals, well, let's start a relationship with them as opposed to just directly with these companies, because they'll be of use to us in the future as we build out our network. And then we have more and more companies that are particularly useful to us sent our way based upon, maybe specific business challenges we're trying to address, or maybe just proactively telling us about where the industry is going to be in the future. Same thing with looking at acquisitions in this space, and then M&A and IPO activity overall. I was talking about automating. We can curate our own newsletter here, and that'll tell us about far more than deal flow. It'll tell us really about the entire ecosystem. And then I can actually have the deal flow itself, though, attached as a CSV. That's where a lot of the expertise automation we were talking about before comes in. And if I want to crunch the numbers, I can do so here on more so the raw data side of things, as it were. If I need to get back to the CB Insights research, or if I need to get back to any other part in the platform, I can do so once again here with this menu on the left-hand side. That's a brief overview. Should give you an idea of how our clients are thinking about CB Insights data and where they're incorporating it into their decisions. As you can see, it is providing insights. It's also very much so a workflow tool that's about security and efficiency. Thank you very much.